Hello, I'm Paul, and this is Paul Plays with Fire. Welcome. Come on in and grab a chair. It's the middle of July. We're smack in the dab in the middle of corn country, and the sweet corn is ready right now. So today on the show, we're going to be making corn on the cob. We're going to try cooking the corn in 6 different ways and figure out which way we like best. We're going to steep some corn in hot water. We're going to fire up the Sous Vide cooker, and we're going to cook an ear or two. We're going to slow roast some corn in the oven. We're going to microwave some corn, it's around here someplace. And finally, we're going to cook some corn using the method that most folks use. We're going to boil some water. Each method has its pros and cons. We'll talk about them as we go. Why am I doing this? Because I love sweet corn. I've been around sweet corn my whole life. I worked in the sweet corn fields as a kid, and I've never lived any more than a mile from a sweet corn field. Corn and butter run in my veins. First, let's talk about cooking corn on the cob, and let's start with the corn kernel over here. For cooking purposes, let's just say a kernel of corn, this is a kernel of corn, is composed of 2 parts, the inside part and the outside part. The inside part is known as the endosperm and the germ. This is the creamy and delicious part. It contains some starches and some sugars. In order to convert those starches to more sugar, we need to get the inside part above 150 degrees for at least a few minutes. Now the outside part, this is called the pericarp. It holds the inside part all together. It's made mostly of pectin, and it starts breaking down about 180 degrees. So that's the trick. We need to get the inside part to 150 or better without getting the outside part above 180 degrees. So here's a 180 degree top over here. Here's a 180 degree top over here and a 150 degree bottom over here. So the trick is to get the corn in this range and keep it there for at least a few minutes. As long as 90 minutes if you need to. It can stay there as long as you get in this range and don't get out of 180 degrees. You can keep it there for a long time. And if the pericarp, the outside part, gets above 180 degrees for very long, it starts to break down and turn kind of mushy and get stuck in your teeth, and you'll see dented corn, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants that at all. So let's get busy and make some corn. Well, the first thing we need to do is shuck some sweet corn. And when I say shuck some sweet corn, I mean pull the husks and the silk off it. And if you've not done it before, it's really not too difficult. You just kind of grab it by the top, split it in the middle, and then pull down on each side. Just like that. Just that simple. You can sometimes get it in two pulls, but sometimes it takes a little more than that. And then you kind of go ahead and just get the silk off the best you can. Here's a fun fact for you. Each piece of silk on the corn connects to a kernel on the ear of corn. So when the ear is on a stalk of corn like this, when it's still in its ripe state, the tassels shed pollen. When the pollen hits the silk, each silk connects to a kernel of corn on the ear. Each silk, when it gets fertilized, will tell that kernel of corn to start developing. That's what the pollen sends the messages to start developing, and it has some messages from the male part about what genus it is and what variety of corn it is, I guess. But anyway, as you look at an ear of corn, this one is pretty well filled out. Occasionally you'll see an ear of corn that didn't get completely filled out, and that's because for whatever reason, the individual tassel from that kernel of corn did not get pollinated, and so it ends up being an empty spot. You can kind of see one there, an empty spot on the corn. And then the other kernels kind of fill in around it. So we'll shuck one more ear just to show you what's going on. Grab from the top, pull down. Oh, that's a good ear of corn. Still early in the season, so they're a little smaller, but good looking corn. Okay, let's cook some corn. We've got our oven ready at 300 degrees, and we've got our sous vide ready at 175 degrees, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. First, I have to confess though, I currently have a favorite way of making corn, and that is to steep it in near boiling water. And then the idea is that you put the water on in near boiling up here, and you put in room temperature corn down here, and as you put the corn in, the water cools down, and the corn heats up, and hopefully, when it reaches equilibrium somewhere in here and then cools down a little bit over time, it's somewhere in this 150 to 180 range. That's ideal. And so then it has a chance to cook, and it just sits there, and it's very tolerant. You can let it sit in that hot water for an hour and it'll still be too hot to eat, and it won't be overcooked. So it's pretty amazing. Let's go ahead and get the oven corn in since it takes the longest. We're going to take an ear corn, and we're going to just snip off the the top part of the husks because we don't want to start any fires. And we're gonna snip off the bottom part just to make it a little less long for the oven. And then we've got the oven set at 300 degrees, like I said, and once again, that's a very forgiving temperature, and we're gonna set it for 45 minutes. And it'll just sit there for a while at 300 degrees. And once again, the corn wrapped in its nice buffer of husks will gradually warm up, get it up into this 150 range, and then we'll check the temperature when we pull it out. But that way it'll just sit in it. Very, very forgiving. It's just like doing it on the pellet smoker. That's another thing I should mention. I said that I had 6 ways to do it. One of those ways is cooking on a pellet smoker, but what I really mean is we already did a video on that. You can check out that video here, and don't do it now. Watch this video first. But that was a very interesting look at a whole bunch of different ways to do pellet, to do sweet corn, strictly on a pellet smoker. None of the rest of this falls at all. Just cooking corn on a pellet smoker. Now our next method is called Sous Vide. And I know that sounds really complicated and all that, but what it really is just a very precise water heater. It'll heat up water to within 1/10 of a degree of where you want, and then you put whatever food you want cooked at whatever temperature you want it cooked at, and it will very religiously keep it to that temperature as closely as it can. And it gets, so what it means is we set it at 175, which is just right in this zone where we want it to be, and it'll just stay there. It'll just stay there, and our corn eventually will get to 175 degrees, and it'll stay there as long as we need to. So we're gonna put a couple ears in a Ziploc bag. We've got a couple of ears that we shucked already. And one of the things about Sous Vide actually means in French under vacuum. And we don't have a vacuum sealer yet, but just by using a water displacement method, you put it in there and the water will help it squeeze out any air that's in the Ziploc. And then we'll seal off the top of that Ziploc. And there. Now we want that corn to be completely underwater. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna stick a couple knives in there to weight it down. There, and that'll be just fine. We'll just leave that for 45 minutes or so, just like the corn in the oven. And although we're using our toaster oven out here just for fun, we could just as easily do it in the oven in the house. Matter of fact, I did that just this week and it was delicious. It was really good. So we've got that going. Next thing, we've got our steeping corn. Although we really need our steeping corn to steep for about 20 or 30 minutes. So we're gonna rest for a little bit and we'll be right back. Our oven corn is coming along nicely. We'll just take a peek at that. And our Sous Vide corn is Sous Videing. That looks nice. And now we have a nice hot pot of water. Take that lid off for just a second. Ooh, hot, very hot. This is our steeping water, and it's at 180 degrees. It's plenty hot. We're only gonna put 2 ears of corn in it, so it should be hot enough. We'll go ahead and drop those in. Now the theory is, at 180 degrees, when we add the corn in, we'll just end up right somewhere in here. Right somewhere in here, and then we'll just continue to drop over time. But it will be, 1 hour. It'll still be in this range. So it won't be hurt, it won't be above the range, and it won't be below the range. And even if it does fall below the range, 150 degrees is actually too hot to eat. So, it's edible all the way down to about probably 125, 130. So we'll let that steep in there, and just to see, just for science, stir it with our knife a little bit. It's down to 167, 168, so that's perfect. We'll just put that lid on there and it will sit and it will cook without any attention from us at all. It's the best kind of cooking. It's no nonsense, easy, lazy person's cooking. This is my favorite way. This is also becoming a new favorite way of mine, and this is also a favorite way of mine because they are so forgiving. You really just, we could cook that ear cone for 45 minutes in the oven, pull it out, set it on the counter, and in half an hour, it'll probably still be too hot to eat. Same for Sous Vide. I mean, we can just leave them in the water if we want, pull them out, and they'll wait be too hot to eat. We have 26 minutes left. That's just about right for our steeped corn, and then we'll have to get some water boiling and hook up our microwave for our final two methods, but that won't be until the last 5 minutes. We'll probably be eating corn while those things are going on. So we'll see you in about 15, 20 minutes. Okay, there we go. Our oven corn has been in for 45 minutes and our sous vide corn has been in for 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and pull that oven corn out. See what we got. It's hot. Ooh, it's hot. Up. Oh, and it smells like corn too. It smells really good. Okay, well, let's just peel a little bit of, at the end of the day, when you want to know if corn's done or not, the best way to tell is to peel back a little bit of the husk and then go ahead and hit it with a thermometer. Okay, there we are, right on the kernel of the corn, 159 degrees. You know what that is? That is right in the right range. That is right where we want to be. So that means it has gotten to, but has not exceeded 180 degrees. This ear of corn is done. We'll set that aside for tasting in a little bit. And our sous vide corn, we're also gonna assume that's done. So we're just gonna turn that off, and that'll sit in the hot water for a long time. And that's fine, that's just fine. It's not going anywhere. We know how hot it is, it's 175 degrees. So, and you know what? That's right in that range again. So that's just where we want it to be. Okay, then now we got our steeped corn, and that water is sitting at 150 degrees. Once again, perfect. Just where we want it to be. That means it has come up, and it was higher than that. It was like 180 degrees or 175 degrees when it first started, and then it has come down. So, but it has sat in that range for a nice long time. It could continue to sit, and it's gonna sit because I'm gonna move it off to the side here. And then we're gonna bring out a pot of boiling water, and we're gonna place our toaster oven with a microwave. This should get interesting. So we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, now we have boiling water and a microwave. So time to get this thing finished up. We're gonna turn that up just a little bit, get that to a good rolling boil. A little induction cooker here, a little noisy, but it works really, really well. It's really good for boiling water if you've got cast iron. So we're gonna take a couple of our ears of corn and put them in there just for 5 minutes. Turn that all the way up so it returns to boil. And then we're gonna put this in here, let's say for 3.5 minutes. There we go, 3.5 minutes. So neither one of these should take very long. But these are both the least forgiving methods. If you do the microwave too long, you're screwed. I don't know how, it's gonna overcook really fast. As a matter of fact, because of the way the microwave cooks, it cooks from the inside out. When you pull the corn out, it is not done cooking. I'll let it sit in the husk, and it will continue to cook while we let it sit on the counter, just like this one still is. And then we've got these two over here, and we've got just 4 minutes left, and once again, not very forgiving. It's boiling water, so it's above 180 degrees. So we have to pull that out right quick. We'll have to be right Johnny on the spot when it comes to pulling that out. And we'll do that right at 5 minutes. We'll see you then. Well, our microwave corn is done. It looks pretty good. Our oven corn is still done. It feels really hot still. It still looks really good. We've got our boiled corn that is done. We'll go ahead and pull one of those ears out. We have our steeped corn, which is done. Go ahead and pull one of those ears out. So it's boiled, steeped. And our sous vide corn, which is done. So we have, just so we're clear, oven, microwave, sous vide, steeped, boiled. We're gonna try these. Well, we'll start with the oven one. Another thing about cooking with the husks on, the husks come off really easy. The silk comes off really easy when it's cooked. It basically just jumps right off the corn. And so if you want to, you could serve fancy corn. You know, corn that's on the cob, you know, like you get at a state fair or a music festival. And another thing about corn, I should mention, if you're serious about corn, and apparently I am, you need one of these trays, a corn tray for putting the corn in there. And when we get to some of the next ears of corn that don't have the fancy corn ends, we'll go ahead and do this, which is nice. And then we also have our butter spreader. It's got butter in the middle and it just, oh, look at that. Just puts it on just like you want. And then we just need a little bit of salt and pepper. Looks good. Oh, it is good. That is better than I imagined. That is really tasty. Well, that's good. Okay, we'll move on to our microwave. No, we're gonna leave our microwave corn for a little bit because it's still cooking. Next, we'll go to our Sous Vide corn. We're gonna go ahead and put the ends in that, since we can. And I expect this one is gonna be kind of good. And probably pretty hot too, because it's still 175. It was 175 degrees just seconds ago. You know, when I got a Sous Vide machine, I didn't expect the first thing I'd be doing on the show here was corn, but that's all right. Oh. It's a little time consuming to do it this way, but boy, that may be my new favorite way to do corn. Boy, there's something about that. That is really creamy and tasty and to the tooth. This is gonna get hard. It's gonna get really hard to decide. Next up, we have our steep corn. This is a corn that's sat in near boiling water for half an hour or so. Delicious as always. Oh man, it's good. Right now it's a tie between these two, but it's really close. Really, really close. And our boiled corn. It's like a ritual. Very ritualistic behavior. Also good, as long as you do it right. The thing is, it's really easy to overcook it. That one's not overcooked though. That's really good. So far, they're all winners, but you know, I worked pretty hard to get it this way. Let's go to the microwave corn, see how we did. I don't expect a lot out of this, just because it's microwave corn, but it looks pretty good. It's not the best ear in the world, but it's not bad. It's still really, really hot. I didn't even take a temperature, but if I look at it right now, 143 degrees, so it was really hot. Yeah, and I can see the ear starting to dimple a little bit, so it's right at the edge. Once again, the microwave method, really, really quick. I made 2 ears of corn last night for a salad I was making. Well, it worked really well. Really happy with this little guy. But gotta be careful, it's really unforgiving. And the best thing you could do, when you pull it out of the microwave, especially if you're gonna be making a salad or something, get it in cold water to stop the cooking. Because cooking from the inside out, it will continue to cook after it sits unless you put some cold water onto it. That's the hottest corn yet. Still really tasty, and I could tell it's just getting to be overcooked. So you can do it with a microwave, you just gotta be really careful. That one's definitely a bit overcooked, but that's to be expected with a microwave. So I think we had a really good experiment here, really successful. I'm really happy with how it all turned out. The methods that take the longest time are the least forgiving. The ones that give you a chance to get the corn up to temperature slowly and then let it sit there and cook. The ones like the boiling water or the microwave, really, really fast, but kind of unforgiving. You can get above this 180 degree line really quickly. Well, that's all I had for you today. I love sweet corn, and sweet corn has been a part of my life for my whole life. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. This has been Paul Plays with Fire. See you next time.